you ever done ayahuasca?
Yeah, I've done ayahuasca many times.
Was it in a in the right environment to?
Oh yeah, it was in Peru with the shaman in the jungle. The first thing I learned from ayahuasca on the very first ceremony, when I connected with that mother spirit of the earth, was she said to me, you don't have to drink the medicine to commune with me. I'm always here if you would only listen. And that was profound.
That is profound.
But I've seen into the spirit realm. I mean, some of the visions you have in ayahuasca, they're not hallucinations. You're literally seeing into the spirit realm. You're seeing outside visible light and into the spirit realm. There's the blue people there, what the Arabs call the jinn. You know how the genies are always portrayed as being blue and all this sort of stuff. The blue people, like in Avatar.
Yeah.
If you've seen the movie Avatar, that's kind of what the world is actually like. Only a lot of it is outside your visible light, so you can't see it. It's like I've described to people. It's like there's this amazing jungle, and you're walking through a glass tube through the middle of the jungle, but all you can see is what's projected on the walls of the glass tube. You can't see anything past the glass tube. You don't even know you're in a jungle. You think you're in a city because that's what's being projected on the walls of the glass tube. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. But there's all this stuff going on outside visible light that we can't see because our pineal is closed. And the thing that I got from every ceremony that I ever had was what you experience in ayahuasca is the real world, and this is the dream. Well, I saw lots of stuff, but what I'm saying is you might call them hallucinations because they don't exist in this realm. They don't exist within this light frequency, so you can't see them here. You might say, oh, he's having hallucinations. But what if I'm not? What if I'm actually seeing what exists outside visible light that is trying to communicate with us? But we can't see it because our pineal's closed. Well, you're just walking through a field, and you're treading on these little creatures, little ants or whatever, and they're screaming out to you to please stop destroying our homes, but you don't even know they're there. You don't know you're destroying their homes. You don't know where you are. You can't see. You've got goggles on. You cannot see what this world actually is. That's what this society's done to us. And I know this sounds really crazy to a lot of people. This is what the calcification of your pineal gland has done. You can only see a very, very narrow bandwidth of reality, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on outside reality that you don't know is there. And it's screaming out for us to listen to it. But we're not listening. We can't hear it. And a lot of what this system is designed to do is completely destroy that world, completely destroy that knowledge. That is the real world. You know, and people think, oh, this is jungle weirdness, this is satanic, this is, hallucinations or whatever. It's not. People do not understand the significance of what they've done by closing your pineal gland. You are experiencing less than 1% of reality. You know, and there's senses that you have that you don't even know you've got. Things that I've experienced in ayahuasca is like 105 higher senses. Not just 5 senses. You're living in a 5-sense reality. What about the other 100 senses that you've got that you can't experience? There's an energetic language going on all the time. Intuition. You know, people, the tryptophan that's in everything. This is an incredible thing. Nobody knows what tryptophan does. Tryptophan is a compound that exists in everything, all living things, or plants, animals, everything's got tryptophan in it. They don't even know what it's for. Tryptophan, you can change one thing and it becomes dimethyltryptamine, which is DMT, which is what is produced in your pineal gland. When you've got enough active DMT in your body by having an open pineal gland, because DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is created in your spine, it's distributed through your body via the pineal gland. When that is active in your body, you can access the tryptophan that exists in everything, and you can communicate with it. It's like the Bond in Avatar. It's like Iwa. It's like this connection that they have. It's like nature's internet. It's like Earth's own internet. And we call it intuition. This is why you'll get animals and tribal people will leave an area before a tsunami or an earthquake comes. They'll leave because they know there's an earthquake or a tsunami coming, because they can read the energy field because it changes. The plants, everything's telling them that it's changing. They can communicate with everything. Okay, we can't do that. And they say, oh, it's just intuition. The animals know because it's intuitive. It's actually a language. And we're all open to that language, but our pineal is closed, so we don't even know the language exists. That's what they've done to us. We're literally seeing like about 5% of visible light. I mean, well, what visible light is? It's a tiny, narrow bandwidth. We're seeing 5% of reality, and we're experiencing less than 1% of reality because of all our higher languages, our higher senses, and everything's closed down. People don't understand just how much of a number has been done on the human race. And you start talking about all this sort of stuff, and they just think you're up with the fairies, you know? Because all they know is what they read in books and what they see around them, and they go outside, and this is all solid, and it's all real, and it's this, and the signs, and neons, and, you know, cars, and noise, and, you know, this is reality, you know? What about all the stuff that's going on outside that you can't see? Tell this to people and they think you're nuts. What do you mean I can't see it? This guy needs to be locked up. He's gone crazy, you know?
Do you feel that you've been able to commune with the real world without the ayahuasca?
Yeah, I mean, you're always connected to it. I mean, understanding life is an emotional mirror. There's a language going on. Listening to your intuition. I mean, I can to a degree, you know? I mean, it's hard. My pineal is as calcified as anybody else's. I do what I can to try to remedy that. But yeah, I mean, just listening to your intuition. When you listen, when your intuition speaks to you, you should always listen to it. And communicating with animals, I think, is an interesting thing as well. Like having like telepathic communication with animals, just thinking things to them. And you know, sometimes when an animal looks at you, a thought will pop into your head. It's kind of like the animal speaking to you, and you just kind of brush it off and think that was cute. You had a funny thought. You put it down to your imagination. But very often it is. It is the animal trying to communicate with you, wondering why you're not responding. You know, things like this. I mean, you just practice things like this and be aware of your surroundings.
There's all this spiritual loveliness, and then you've got the trying to understand this spiritual loveliness. Does it ever relay over to science to you? Do you ever use science or conventional thinking to understand it, or is it just not in the equation?
To a degree, it's not in the equation. I mean, to a degree it is, but I mean, the interesting thing about science is it tries to discover all these things, and the things that it's trying to discover is where spirituality begins. You know what I mean? So they go through all this process to get to the starting point, which is kind of a bizarre way of thinking. You know, this analytical left brain way of thinking about things. You know, we analyze stuff too much rather than just seeing it for what it is, in as much as reality. You know, like I've often said, like this Earth. People speculating over whether it's round or flat or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your path through. People speculating on what the planets are and what the stars are. It doesn't matter. You can't get to them. These are arguments you can have for your entire life that you will never, ever, ever, ever be able to answer. So what's the point of having the argument? You know, didn't you come to this realm to be all that you can be and to discover yourself and the true nature of yourself and what you can do with that, and perhaps leave the realm a little bit better than how you found it? You know, there's we do all this stuff in our lives, and we miss out on discovering the one thing we came here to look at, which was ourselves. I think that's what this is. I think this is it's kind of like almost like a place where you come to grow your soul. It's like an exam, you know. When we started asking questions about stuff that we don't need to know, and yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not saying don't question, don't research, don't be curious, sure. But you know, we start. Why do we need to? Like, the analogy I've often used is, you know, we'll cut a tree down to measure the rings to find out how old the tree is. Well, now we don't have the tree. Why couldn't we just sit under the tree and enjoy the shade of the tree? Why do we need to know how old the tree is? How does it affect our lives? We pull these minerals apart to find out what they're made of. Why? What do you need to know? Just enjoy the rock. It's beautiful rock. We tear the earth to pieces to find out what it is. Our home, our mother, our garden, we tear it to pieces. The moment we started ripping the earth to pieces to find out how it worked, we ceased to love it. We ceased to love our home. We ceased to love our mother. And we left the path of wisdom. You know, we value intellectuality and information more than we value wisdom. And that's why we're in the state that we're in. You know, this cat that I'm talking about here, this cat that I love, I'm not going to tear the cat to pieces to find out how it works because I love it. You know, we did that with our earth. You don't tear a kitten to pieces in order to love it. You don't tear the earth to pieces in order to love it. We cease to love the earth. We cease to love our home. Even with our own relationships with people, we want to know everything about them, and we tear them to pieces to find out if we can find a flaw in them so we can cease to love them. And even by tearing them apart and finding, why can't you just value them? Look into their eyes. Can you see their soul? Do you connect? Is there a worthwhile connection? Is there something there that helps you both grow on your path? Do you support each other's path? Do you complement each other's path? I mean, why do we need to know all these things? We've completely left the path of wisdom, and we value information and knowledge over wisdom, and that's what's led us to that point. And what we've got to do when we look at all this stuff and even look at the situation that we're in is be wise about it. Be wise about it and become human again. I've often said to people, a question you should ask yourself every day, I've been mentioning on the show recently, is am I the type of friend that I would want to have as a friend? Not am I the type of person, am I a good friend? Am I something? Are you the type of friend to people? Are you the type of friend to other people that you would value as a friend? Because if everybody lives that, we'll change the world in a day. It's so simple to change this world without pointing the finger at anybody. Oh, it's the Jews. We'll get pointed at them for our 2 minutes hate every day and blame them. But we'll continue to use all this tech and do all this stuff and drive ourselves off the cliff because we won't look at the value within ourselves. We won't notice the value in other people. If we meet someone, we want to pick them to pieces, tear them to pieces, and see if there's something in there that we can fault. It's just unreal what we've done to ourselves. So, I mean, we've reached a kind of a point of spiritual bankruptcy. So in many ways, what we're seeing unfold now had to happen. It had to happen. We've done it to ourselves. Blame anybody you like. We've done this to ourselves through our refusal to see, our refusal to ever admit when we're wrong, because being wrong is the worst thing you could possibly ever do. You know, I made a mistake. Oh my God, I'm a lesser person. You know, we are creatures who come here to make mistakes. That's how you learn. You don't learn to build a house without banging your thumb with the hammer a few times, you know. You've got to, that's how we learn. If you're not willing to admit your mistakes, then you're never going to learn anything. And if you're too scared to make any mistakes or admit you've ever made any mistakes, then you left the wisdom a long time ago. You know, so that's the situation of the human psyche, darling. So we've got to a point where we're in a cleansing process, and I think this had to happen. But I see a beautiful light coming through the other side once all of this rubbish is over, because I think we will come through this, and we'll come through a lot purer and a lot stronger and a lot more, perhaps even on the path back to what we should be.
This is why we're here. Unobtainium. Because this little gray rock sells for 20 million a kilo. That's the only reason. It's what pays for the whole party. It's what pays for your science. Comprendo?